Hello all and welcome back. I hope everyone is doing really well. Taking a quick look at the overall market cap, we are still above $1 trillion, which is of course a very bullish sign for the crypto markets in general. Not only that, the gainers versus losers over the last week or so, 63% to the 37% of losers, therefore indicating roughly 2/3 of the market has been accelerating upwards in terms of price appreciation, rather than to the downside, which we only see 1/3, 58 billion in volume traded. And of course, the Bitcoin dominance is still sitting at 41%. If I do scroll through this list, we start to see some of the tokens that obviously I talk about now and again. We've got Stellar there. Obviously, HBAR still in at number 37 within the top 40 at 1.67 billion. I was covering a bit of Hedera price appreciation over the last week over on Twitter, where we were accelerating really quickly, and we did actually flip 𝗟𝗚𝗙𝗚 and Quant. Where does Quant appear on here? So Quant's actually now down in 44th in terms of market cap, but we flipped Filecoin, 𝗟𝗚𝗚𝗚, and Quant, and we were approaching the number 33 place, which is Stellar Lumens in terms of market cap. So there was, or for a short period at least, Hedera was leading the charge in terms of the weekly, and it was actually one of the top performers over the 24 to 48 hour period. And of course, that is why we are now currently shy of 7 cents. And the markets are just sort of crabbing sideways towards the, sideways and upwards at the same sort of time, really slowly. Now, there is a big week coming ahead actually for cryptocurrencies in general. And that is because on the 1st of February, there will be a Federal Open Market Committee meeting, which of course was spoken about tons in the past, and that is where the Federal Reserve meet to discuss their next policy rate change, and more to the point, a rate hike. Now, looking at the US federal funds rate, we can see we are at that 4.5%, and there were many talks previously that we'd be seeing terminal rates as early as March, April time of 2023 this year, so literally a few months out from now. On February the 1st, as it currently stands, majority of markets and analysts are predicting a 25 basis point hike increase, which is only 0.25%. So hopefully we do turn around and see a 25 basis point hike increase. There have been 7 rate hikes previously consecutively over the sort of last 12 months or so, which of course are to fight the really high amounts of inflation that we see over in the United States. And then we see a sort of bounce back effect across the globe and all developed nations, off the back of really what the Federal Reserve are doing, because of how tightly connected majority of economies are in a sort of heavily globalized world. Not only this, we could see some really negative price pressure on the markets if the Fed turn around and continue their 50 basis point hikes instead of the 25 basis point hikes that we are pricing in currently. If I flick across to some information about the US currently, this is why a lot of analysts are looking at a 25 basis point increase. Analysts are predicting only 25 basis points instead of the usual 50 basis points because the Q4 GDP, or gross domestic product, sorry, I'm mincing my words there, for the United States rose by nearly 3% or 2.9% specifically, which was much higher than expectations for the last quarter. Of course, many people are talking about recessions across the board, particularly in developed nations. To then go and see a 3% increase in GDP over Q4 will buck that trend in terms of a recession. A recession on paper is several quarters in a row of negative gross domestic product growth, so i.e. a minus figure in front of that. And of course, having a positive increase to GDP in Q4 then shakes the official paper term for a recession. Important distinction there. What this could in turn yield, or what has been happening across the markets, of course, now we're seeing all of these banks turn around and saying, do we need to see a 50 basis point increase to the interest rate to fight inflation? The economy is a little bit stronger than it appears at first glance, or what the notion of the Federal Reserve had looked at before. But of course, the underlying thing is those inflation rates. And this could actually turn around and be a negative for the Federal Reserve, saying, if GDP is currently rising, that means, of course, there is spending activity happening in the economy. The inflation, again, will no longer be as transitory as they once believed, even more sticky because we are seeing GDP growth. Therefore, we need a 50 basis point rate hike. Now, of course, it's going to be in their hands on the 1st of Feb, Wednesday next week. And we may see the markets react quite bearishly to the news of a higher interest rate hike, particularly is because many analysts, again, as well as the markets, are looking for a terminal rate of March. If they deviate from a slight reduction now, this could push out that terminal rate into the future, and that risk on appetite could begin to diminish that we've all been enjoying over the past couple of weeks or so. That being said, though, Goldman Sachs has just named Bitcoin as the best performing asset of 2023. And this is off actually as well. I did some tweets last week. So make sure you guys are following me over on Twitter. I do post lots of different stuff from around the markets and sort of the macro news and what's going on. But even I had a quick look, and the year-to-date returns of Bitcoin were significantly outperforming things like the S&P 500 and the Russell 1000 growth indexes. And not only that, when you adjust it for the risk of the underlying assets, also known as a Sharpe ratio in financial markets, Bitcoin has a Sharpe ratio of 3.1, which is ahead of the emerging markets at 2.8. The Sharpe ratio basically says for how much inherent risk I am taking in purchasing an asset, is my reward profiling offsetting that additional risk that I am taking. Of course, if you go into a riskier asset, you should be expecting magnitudes of reward or expected return much higher than that of something that is a much safer bet over the longer time frames. So Bitcoin has occupied the top spot in Goldman Sachs' report by sustaining over 27% in total returns, accompanied in the data by a risk-adjusted ratio of 3.1. Conversely, the subsequent assets in the revealed metrics are far behind cryptocurrency, with the MSCI as the second highest, with a total return of only 8%, with a Sharpe ratio of 2.8. So for a slight amount of adjusted additional risk, that's 3.1 over 2.8, you are yielding over nearly 3 or 4 times the return, 3 and a bit times the return of the emerging markets currently across cryptocurrencies. And of course, a lot of us have seen that they've been performing quite strongly recently. Anyway, that's enough of what's happening across the markets at the moment in terms of the macro outlook for the next week. Things could either continue towards the upside, or we could see a bit of a trend reversal. You know, what goes up must come down inevitably. For me personally, I'd actually like to see a bit of a pullback again. It just continues to enable me to dollar cost average into those positions and build them for the next bull market, whenever that may be. 2022 was, of course, an incredible year for Hedera. Between ever growing communities, consistent network upgrades, and a burgeoning decentralized application ecosystem, Hedera showed considerable growth with no signs of slowing. Special thanks to DeFi Girl for this particular write-up. Flicking through those social statistics, Twitter activity up nearly 50%, LinkedIn 66%, and YouTube up 24%. Shout out to you guys watching this kind of content. Huge thank you, of course, to everyone who joined the Hedera community. Network updates, of course, Hashgraph went open sourced. HBAR staking became native. We've also got liquid staking tokens and different types of DeFi that has been doing incredibly well. Greater EVM compatibility, as well as consistent Hedera improvement proposals to improve network functionality. In terms of metrics, the total transactions for 2022 was 530 million. In of itself, that is actually a large number, but of course, as we have seen over previous videos, hopefully you guys have seen them, the Hedera network is absolutely on fire, and it is doing billions of transactions every couple of weeks. It's nuts. Average transactions per second being nearly 19, accounts created 770,000, and the active ecosystem builder accounts went from 187 to 8,227 active builders. This is insane. The number of people that are building on the Hedera network and looking to develop use cases, either on the retail side as well as the enterprise side, is astonishing. Not only that, of course, majority of it being driven by the HBAR Foundation, which gave out 195 grants throughout the year across gaming, metaverse, sustainability, fintech, and more to expand the Hedera ecosystem. Hedera is proving to the world the utility of DLTs, and they will continue to build in the new year onwards and upwards. And of course, we have seen that with the launches of enterprise use cases from Avery Dennison, of course, the 𝗟𝗏𝗡.io platform. As it currently stands, the Hedera network is actually on track to process 1 billion transactions every 20 days at its current pace. But at some point in the future, Christian Hasker believes it will be processing that volume every 20 minutes. Now, what does Christian Hasker know? Obviously quite a lot, because of his position working alongside the likes of Swells and the Hashgraph Foundation. Hello, mass adoption. Yeah, he does still work at Swells. There you go, marketing off the top of my head. So, I'd rumoured as well before, or we'd seen the rumours and I'd spoken about potentially up to 80 use cases going live in Q1 of 2023. So we could be seeing this figure quoted by Christian, or loosely quoted, every 20 minutes, 1 billion transactions in Q1. As soon as Q1 2023, this could actually become a reality based on the number of use cases that are currently in the pipeline, with a large swath of those being enterprise use cases which have the throughput of transactions. If we look at the network overview dashboard over on Metrica, we can see that the mainnet has been humming along ever since that 𝗟𝗏𝗡.io use case went live, in the region of anywhere between, on average, I'm saying average TPS 243 because of obviously it's counting. I've got it on the 1 month time frame. If I go into the 1 week time frame, our average TPS is nearly 462 transactions per second. Max TPS is nearly 6,000, 300 million transactions processed. And of course, 280 million of those have come from 𝗟𝗏𝗡.io already. And that next topic ID of 120438 is of course AdStacks, which has been keeping the mainnet alive for a long period of 2022. And I think 2021 when it released. But 𝗟𝗏𝗡.io is obviously the new king of Hedera as it currently stands in terms of enterprise use cases, and it just keeps going, which is absolutely brilliant to see. Average consensus time as well is sub 5 seconds as per usual. So even though we are seeing an increase in the number of transactions being processed on Hedera, the average create to consensus time still sub 5 seconds. We have seen some spikes though, that max create to consensus time here probably being one of these spikes that we'd seen previously. That happens sometimes now and again with nodes and the number of transactions being processed. There is even more stuff happening on Hedera though as well. Do you understand how massive this is? A worldwide DAO first, next will come staking powered by Hedera. And this is from Bank Social. So they've achieved a significant milestone as the world's first ever equipment financing loan for a DAO, which has just been signed. So BSL DAO has approved the loan and the commercial borrower has completed the necessary documents. This is the testament to the power of the BSI DAO, and history is being made, and this is all being powered, or the staking will be powered by Hedera. So there are some really big use cases for sort of tokenization and leveraging that Hedera consensus service that will be coming across to the Hedera Hashgraph network in the future. Of course, 𝗟𝗏𝗡.io was just the beginning. There are so many different use cases and sort of opportunities for businesses and enterprises to build on top of Hedera and leverage the fact that it is secure, it is secure, it is stable, and it is scalable. More importantly, with those fixed fees are an absolute game changer when it comes to enterprises and working out things like opportunity cost and profitability of any particular venture across the space. Some other massive news as well for Hedera. Lithos, which is that AAA title I'd covered in the past, has partnered with TikTok star Michael Lee to market Web3 game Ashfall, which of course again is natively being built on top of Hedera. The TikTok megastar Michael Lee will promote the Web3 game Ashfall and subsequently will be singing praises of Hedera in a roundabout way because Ashfall is being built on top of Hedera, to 52.2 million followers on the TikTok social media network platform. The promo will be part of the partnership with Lithos, a game startup created by Days Gone co-creator John Garvin and PlayStation veteran Michael Mumbauer. They will create a narrative TikTok series that introduces Ashfall. Supporting the partners will be Web3 marketplace CoinZoom and the HBAR Foundation, the shepherd of Hedera Hashgraph, a fast and efficient blockchain-like technology, of course, a DLT, starring Lee along with TikTok influencer 𝗟𝗜𝗙𝗘𝗥𝗥𝗔𝗟𝗦, another influencer who has over 250,000 followers on Instagram. The adventure video series will introduce the world to Ashfall, the first transmedia intellectual property announced by the Lithos team earlier this year that will launch as a comic book series first and foremost in March, and then later with a game, of course, all being built on top of Hedera Hashgraph. This is some serious A-grade level marketing with some very big names across the space, and not only that, targeting the demographics of the social medias that they actually want to get involved. Of course, gaming, the younger generation, with the likes of TikTok megastars, where of course majority of the younger generation nowadays spend an awful lot of their time. That is a really big piece of news, and of course again could drive a lot of noise about Hedera and the things that can be built on top of it. Not only that, the NFT daily volume on Hedera has done a 10x in the last month or so, and it's still 100 to 500x away from the big boys in the space. We can see they're 117% up in terms of the 24-hour NFT volume, $56,000. When you compare this to the likes of, say, Solana at 3.6 million and Ethereum at nearly $27 million every 24 hours. There is a long way to go yet for Hedera, but we have been climbing places steadily, whether it be NFT volume, TVL, user statistics. Hedera just keeps growing continually, and it's absolutely fantastic to see. Talking about NFTs though, there has been some announcements from some NFT projects I covered in the past. The first one I wanted to talk about is 𝗟𝗚𝗙𝗚𝗓. There is still no confirmed drop for date. However, we know it is soon. If you guys have a whitelist available on the Discord server, make sure you jump across in there because you need to associate your wallet by the 30th of January. And of course, those ghost passes as well will be eligible. Looks like drop 4 for 𝗟𝗚𝗙𝗚𝗓 will be very soon. The guys have been doing some fantastic marketing across the space, and I'm looking forward to that. Second to that as well, we've got 𝗟𝗚𝗙𝗡𝗏𝗡 announcing their lands, which will be minting on February the 3rd. So this is sometime next week on the Zoos Market Launchpad. The price will be just shy of 2,000 HBAR, supply being just under 1,000. And of course, this is all part of their degen land, sort of web-based video game, which we can see on screen here now. So this is kind of like a throwback to games you may have played in the past online, where you can kind of walk around, you can trade with people, you can have your own little plot, you can build sections on that, and of course you can throw things like parties and do all sorts. I need to mute that. But yeah, this looks really interesting actually, and will finally give additional utility to a lot of the different lands mints that you guys have probably seen in the past. There have been some lands mints. There's an upcoming lands mint as well for Earthlings, and of course we had the Creamies one previously. Creamies are still working on building out their kind of web-based game similar to this. Obviously, 𝗟𝗚𝗡𝗏𝗡 managed to do this first. These are the same guys that had the 10,000 NFT mint that successfully sold out. I'm pretty sure it's the first and only large-scale mint that fully sold out on Hedera. And of course, they are now hitting everyone's screens again with this finalized version of the game, or early version of the game, I should say, when the lands go live. They are also partnering with Zoos Market for an exclusive party inside degen land, which is happening Saturday today at 3 p.m. EST. And they'll post some links over on their Twitter page. I will try and get some early game footage for you guys and may upload that in a separate video soon into the future. You can also see as well they've integrated some more stuff, so pushing forward the boundaries of these types of decentralized applications in terms of token gating. So your NFTs inside your wallets will dictate whether you can enter certain spaces within this game per se. And of course, I'm sure they'll come up with new and novel ways to take advantage of these different NFTs. Going forward into the future. I'm excited anyway because it's the first we've seen on Hedera in terms of any kind of game like this which the community can actually openly play. We'll have to see how well this plays out, but the team of course have been working quite hard behind the scenes by the looks of it. Anyway, that kind of wraps up this video. Hopefully you guys did enjoy it. Lots of exciting stuff happening across the crypto space, and particularly for Hedera. We'll have to see what the Fed does next week in terms of where the markets will move next. I just continue buying though, as that is what I've been doing for quite a while. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this video. If you did, leave a like, drop a comment. If you've got something to say, please share it if you can. It really does sort of help spread the awareness of my channel and sort of gets new people into Hedera, which of course, keeps people informed about what's happening with crypto. And until the next one, I'll catch you then. Cheers.